Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Fernando. I'm an adult neurologist. Today I will be discussing seizure and anti-seizure medications. In 2005, ILAE defined, or the International League Against Epilepsy defined seizure as a transient occurrence of signs and symptoms due to abnormal excessive or synchronous neuronal activity in the brain. While in 2014, they redefined epilepsy as occurs when an individual has an epileptic seizure and his or her brain demonstrate a pathologic and enduring tendency to have recurrent seizure. So we diagnose epilepsy when an individual has two unprovoked or reflex seizure that occurs more than 24 hours apart, or if the patient has one unprovoked or reflex seizure, but has the probability of at least 60% of having another seizure within the next 10 years. So who are these patients who has the 60% predisposition of having another seizure within the next 10 years? Those with neurologic deficit or their EEG shows unequivocal epileptic activity, or those with structural abnormality in the imaging. So anti-seizure medication should be started as appropriate in patients with first unprovoked seizure in these types of patients. And of course, if the patient or their relatives consider the risk of having a further seizure unacceptable. So this is a brief historical overview of the classification of seizure. So in 1981, they dichotomized seizure as either partial or generalized. So these are the old terms. In 1985, they included symptomatic seizure, while in 1989, they included cryptogenic epilepsies. So what are the three levels of classification? So first, we determine the seizure types, okay? So in 2017, the ILAE seizure classification begins by determining whether the initial manifestation of the seizures are focal or generalized. So they determine the onset, okay, in 2017. Because now in 2025, they have a newer classification terminologies. So if the onset of the seizure is missed or unclear, the seizure is of unknown onset. While focal seizures are further classified according to the patient's individual level of awareness. So is the patient aware, or was there impaired awareness? Then the most prominent motor or non-motor features. So examples of motor onset, what are the descriptors? Automatisms, atonic, clonic, okay, myoclonic, or non-motor onset, those autonomic symptoms, behavioral arrest, okay, and whether the focal seizure evolves to a bilateral tonic-clonic seizure. So similarly, generalized seizure are classified according to the motor or non-motor manifestations. So example of motor are tonic-clonic, clonic, tonic, okay, there's extension, myoclonic, brief-like jerks, atonic or loss of tone. Non-motor generalized onset includes absence. Okay, so there are different types of absence, the typical, atypical, myoclonic, etc. So in April 2025, they published the newer seizure classification. So what are the differences? Okay. So the six key changes were they remove onset, okay, from the names of the four main seizure classification. So now a distinction is made between classifiers and descriptors. So classifiers include uh, the level of awareness or the level of consciousness, okay? So now they replace consciousness, okay? They replace awareness with consciousness as a classifier. So it's not anymore focal with impaired awareness. So they replace the term with consciousness. They also replace the motor versus non-motor dichotomy into observable manifestation versus non-observable manifestation. And they included epileptic negative myoclonus. So now, instead of focal aware or focal with impaired awareness, we now call them focal with preserved consciousness seizure, or focal with impaired consciousness seizure, and focal to bilateral tonic-clonic seizure. And the descriptors, instead of motor and non-motor, we now use with observable manifestation or without observable manifestation. Okay, the same goes for generalized seizure. So what are the different phases of seizure? First is the aura. So this is the warning symptoms or the seizure onset. So this is subjective. Ano? What are the different aura symptoms? So localizing auras are rare. If the symptoms is somatosensory, for example, tingling, pins and needles in one side, the localization is on the contralateral somatosensory cortex. Okay? For auditory hallucination, for example, noise before the seizure, the ictal onset, the patient hears noise, so the localization is on the contralateral auditory cortex. While patients with visual hallucination may also be considered as an aura, simple hallucinations such as seeing stars, lights, okay, look, it is localized in the contralateral occipital cortex, while complex hallucinations such as seeing objects and faces, we localize it on the non-dominant temporoparietal cortex. While those with deja vu, smelling or tasting um, metallic taste, we localize it on the mesial temporal lobe. So next is the ictus. This is the clinically obvious seizure. Okay, we see it, the tonic-clonic. Okay, so what are the different lateralizing ictal signs? When you see a patient, there's forced head deviation on one side, 10 seconds preceding the convulsion. Okay, so it is localized on the contralateral, okay, hemisphere. Unilateral clonic activity, unilateral tonic activity, and the sign of force. So at the beginning of the tonic phase of a convulsion, there is extension of the contralateral arm while the ipsilateral arm are flexed. Okay? Dystonic limb posturing or automatism with preserved awareness. So there are oral or manual automatism without disturbance of responsiveness. So what are automatism? So they are semi-purposeful involuntary movements that are meaningless. For example, for oral, the chewing motion, lip smacking, okay? Manual, there are fumbling, picking, rubbing, okay? So there's release or disinhibition of pattern. That they are often seen with temporal lobe onset seizure, okay, or if there is spread into the temporal lobe. Also seen with absence seizure. And lastly, the post-ictal period. This is the apparent immediate after effects or when the seizure has stopped. So what are the different lateralizing post-ictal signs? If the patient has Tudd's paralysis, so there is a transient focal neurologic deficit, refers to hemiparesis. So history, okay, is very important. If the patient has tonic-clonic seizure or tonic extension of one side, and after the patient has unilateral weakness, then the event is probably a seizure event and not a stroke. Okay? Aphasia. Okay, so the patient has dominant hemisphere onset and no swiping. In temporal lobe epilepsy, okay, it is usually seen in the ipsilateral temporal lobe of about 86%. So next is determining the epilepsy type, okay? Okay, so The second level of classification, okay, is determining the epilepsy type. So the classification assumes that the patient has epilepsy, okay? Then the epilepsy type is predominantly determined clinically, okay? The characteristic EEG findings, okay, provide supportive evidence. So similar to seizure classification, the epilepsies are classified also as focal or generalized, and the newer classification system additionally recognized two new categories: the combined generalized and focal seizure and the unknown epilepsy. Okay? So, the epilepsy syndrome, okay, is a new, next is the epilepsy syndrome. Okay, so this is a new addition to the current classification system. So, an epilepsy syndrome is defined when there's a cluster of features incorporating both the seizure type, the EEG finding, and imaging features that tend to occur together. Okay, so factors that contribute to epilepsy syndrome includes the age of onset, the remission, the triggers, the diurnal variation, intellectual and psychiatric dysfunction, EEG findings, imaging, family history, and genetics. So, the ILAE has never formally classified a list of epilepsy syndromes. However, well-known and accepted syndromes are described. So there are a lot of epilepsy syndromes, usually more common in the pediatric population. Okay, so here I will not be discussing it one by one. For the child, okay. So for the adult, we have the juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. So usually, these patients are triggered by lack of sleep or intake of alcohol. The seizure would occur at night, and they have um, polyspike and wave discharges on the EEG. Okay. So what are the potential targets of the different anti-seizure drugs? So the molecular targets are at the excitatory or the glutamatergic synapse, or in the inhibitory or the GABAergic synapse. So these presynaptic targets diminishes glutamate release, which includes the voltage-gated sodium channel. So what are those that inhibits the voltage-gated sodium channels? Example are phenytoin, carbamazepine, valproic acid, felbamate, lamotrigine, lacosamide, topiramate, oxcarbazepine. Okay, those others inhibit the L-type calcium channels, including the gabapentin, pregabalin, synaptic vesicle protein, SV2A, which is levetiracetam. Okay, so postsynaptic targets, okay, include the AMPA receptors, okay, which is blocked by topiramate, and the NMDA receptors, which is blocked by felbamate. So figure 3 also shows the molecular targets for anti-seizure medication at the inhibitory or the GABAergic synapse. So these include specific targets, the GABA transporters, especially the GAT1, which is inhibited by tiagabine. Okay, so what are the other targets? The GABA transaminase. So the GABA-T, which is inhibited by the VGABA train. And at the postsynaptic area, the GABA-A receptors, okay? Examples, those that inhibit the GABA-A receptors are the benzodiazepines, the midazolam, diazepam, clonazepam, okay, alprazolam, okay? And the GABA-B receptors. So here, so the principal postsynaptic receptors at the GABAergic synapse is the GABA-A receptors. Okay, the GABA-A receptors. So some anti-seizure drugs mediate the increased opening, okay, of the GABA-A receptors, which result to the inhibition of the postsynaptic cell by increasing, okay, the flow of chloride ions into the cells, okay, which tends to hyperpolarize the neurons. So clinically relevant concentration of both the benzos and barbiturates acts on the GABA A receptors, okay, that can potentiate GABA-mediated inhibition. So next is by irreversibly inhibiting GABA transaminase, which is the enzyme that degrades GABA. Okay, it leads to increased amounts of GABA available for synaptic release. Okay. The third mechanism is the inhibition of the GABA transporters or the GAT1 and reduces uptake of GABA by neurons and glial cells. The example is tiagabine, and for the inhibition of the GABA A transporter, the GABA transaminase, is vigabatrin. So there are two principal types. Both are rather depressing: the GABA A, which is fast or ionotropic, and the GABA B, which is slow or metabotropic. So glutamate receptors are either ionotropic or metabotropic, okay? Ionotropic or metabotropic. So ionotropic are ligand-gated ion channels, which includes the NMDA, the AMPA, and the kainate. While metabotropic means that it requires the second messenger system or is linked via the G protein. So the NMDA receptors, okay, these NMDA receptors, they require two agonists, okay, the glycine and the glutamate, for it to be activated, which leads to influx of sodium, okay, hence leads to depolarization. While the AMPA only needs glutamate, okay, which also leads to the influx of sodium. So these two are postsynaptic targets, okay? So the AMPA receptors is blocked by, the AMPA receptor is blocked by, for example, phenobarbital, topiramate, lamotrigine, and perampanel, while NMDA receptors is blocked by felbamate. Next is the voltage-gated sodium channels. So this is an example of the axonal membrane of an iron. So during resting, okay, the activation gate is closed and the inactivation gate is closed. So the polarization triggered opening of the sodium channels. So the polarization triggered opening of the sodium channels in the axonal membrane of a neuron is required for an action potential. So after opening, the channels, okay, spontaneously close. Okay. So the inactivation gate closes, okay, a process termed as inactivation. This inactivation, okay, mediate the refractory period. So this is the brief period following an action potential during which it is not possible to evoke another action potential. So some anti-seizure drugs work by prolonging the inactivation of the sodium channels. So upon recovery of the inactivation, okay, the sodium channels can now participate in generation of another action potential. So this underlies the action of carbamazepine, lacosamide, lamotrigine. So during the depolarization, there's influx of sodium, okay? While during the repolarization phase, the inactivation gate closes, which leads to the refractory period. Okay. So what are the different types of voltage-gated calcium channels? So includes the L, the PQ, N type. For the absent seizure, Ethosuximide blocks P-type calcium channel. So these are the different voltage-gated sodium channels. So voltage-gated potassium channels are critical determinants of neuronal excitability. So they are responsible for repolarizing the cell membrane in the aftermath of an action potential. So potassium channels are responsible for repolarization. So what are the different anti-seizure medication? Number one is phenytoin. Okay, so the mechanism of action, it prolongs the inactivated state of the sodium channel. You can use it for focal or generalized tonic seizure. So this is the oldest non-sedative anti-seizure drug. Its advantage is its low cost, wide availability, and ease of monitoring. Okay. However, what are the side effects for overdose? It can lead to ataxia and diplopia, and for prolonged use, peripheral neuropathy and cerebellar degeneration. So phenytoin is one of the hepatic enzyme inducer. Okay. So next is carbamazepine. Okay. Carbamazepine also blocks sodium channel. Okay. It is used for focal and generalized tonic-clonic seizure. What are its other indication? If your patient has trigeminal neuralgia or has psychiatric comorbidities, for example, mania, so carbamazepine is a good choice. So what are its side effects? So Steven-Johnson syndrome. So for carbamazepine, you must start low and you must titrate slow. And sometimes we give it at a lower dose, 100, one half, 2 times a day, and you titrate it by 100 milligram every 2 weeks. Okay, so because it can lead to SJS. So overdose can lead to ataxia and diplopia. It can also cause drowsiness and hyponatremia. So it is also, so the older anti-seizure drugs are hepatic enzyme inducer. Means it induces the C450 enzymes, which leads to metabolism or faster metabolism of other drugs. So there's increased drug-to-drug interaction. So for oxcarbazepine, okay, same mechanism of action as carbamazepine, but it has improved toxicity profile. So oxcarbazepine has fewer hypersensitivity reaction. It induces hepatic enzyme to a lesser extent, and most adverse effects similar to carbamazepine, but with more hyponatremia. It is also one of the hepatic enzyme inducer. S-carbazepine related to carbamazepine and oxcarbazepine. Next is phenobarbital. Okay, so phenobarbital binds to GABA-A receptors and prolongs the opening of the chloride channel as discussed. Okay, it is also one of the oldest of the currently available anti-seizure drugs. Okay, can be used for focal and generalized tonic-clonic seizure. What are its dose-related side effects? Include drowsiness and mental dullness. That's why in the clinics, when we have pediatric patients that are transferred to adult neurology, most of them are given phenobarbital. So we try to shift it to the second and newer generation drug. For example, for women, we shift it to levetiracetam because phenobarbital has side effects, especially mental doubts. Okay, so phenobarbital is also a hepatic enzyme inhibitor. Next is primidone. The mechanism of action is same as phenytoin, okay? Side effects is also similar to phenobarbital except that drowsiness occurs early in the treatment phase. Next is felbamate. So felbamate, okay, blocks the NMDA receptor at the postsynaptic uh, excitatory synapse, okay? It can be used for focal seizures or those with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Side effects include aplastic anemia and severe hepatitis. So when felbamate is used with other AEDs, It increases the phenytoin and valproic acid levels and decreases the carbamazepine levels. Next is gabapentin and pregabalin. This is also an analog of GABA. It binds avidly to the alpha-2 subunits of voltage-gated sodium type, voltage-gated N-type calcium channel. So gabapentin is used as an adjunct. We do not use GABA or pregabalin for monotherapy for anti-seizure meds or anti-seizure medication, but we can only use it as adjunct, but also rarely. So what is its side effect? It does not induce hepatic enzyme, so drug interaction is negligible. So side effects is somnolence, dizziness, ataxia, headache, or tremor. Next is lacosamide. So it prolongs the slow inactivated state of the sodium channels. It's used for focal and generalized tonic-clonic seizures. So adverse effect is dizziness, headache, nausea, and diplopia. So not included here. Lacosamide can also have cardiac side effect. It can prolong the PR interval. So when you are using lacosamide, you should monitor your EEG. I mean your ECG. So lacosamide does not induce or inhibit the cytochrome 450. So drug interaction is negligible, and also this is one of the safe alternatives for patients who have lots of comorbidities or who are toxic. Next is lamotrigine. Okay, it blocks the voltage-gated sodium channels, also the N-type and PQ-type calcium channels. It can be used as monotherapy for focal seizure. Or if your patient has other comorbids, such as psychiatric or bipolar disorder. So good for those with psychiatric comorbidities, carbamazepine, lamotrigine. Okay? So adverse effect also same as carbamazepine rash. So lamotrigine is also one of the drugs that we start low and titrate slow. Okay? Lamotrigine is a hepatic enzyme inducer also. So when it is given with valproic acid, it causes twofold increase in lamotrigine's half-life. So when it is combined with valproic acid, we usually decrease the dose of lamotrigine into half. Next is our favorite levetiracetam. Okay, so Keppra is the innovator brand name. Okay, so now there's a lot of brand names. Okay, so first line for patient with multi-organ dysfunction, those with multiple medications, or patients taking chemotherapeutic medication because it is not metabolized by the cytochrome P450, so it has less drug-to-drug interaction. That's why it's the favorite. Okay. So it blocks the SV2A, can be used for focal, generalized myoclonic, and juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. However, what are the side effects? The patient somnolence, dizziness, and it can lead to mood and behavioral changes. So if your patient has a psychiatric comorbidities, we have to be careful with starting levetiracetam. Okay? So those with psychiatric, carbalamotrigine, good for psychiatric, while bad if the patient has psychiatric comorbidities, levetiracetam. Next is perampanel or Fycompa. Okay, it binds the postsynaptic AMPA receptor. We can use it for adjunct to focal and generalized seizure. Adverse effect includes serious and life-threatening behavioral changes or aggression. Is also a CYP3A inducer. Okay. So oxcarba, and phenytoin increase the clearance of perampanel by 50 to 70%. Retigabine, we do not use this most of the time. It is a potassium channel facilitator. It is adjunct to focal seizure. Side effects include blue pigmentation of the skin and lips and reduced visual activity. Rufinamide also prolongs the inactivated state of the sodium channels. Okay. It is adjunct to tonic, atonic, focal, and Lennox-Gastaut. Tiagabine, okay, inhibits the GABA uptake by inhibiting the GAT1 transporter. We can use it as adjunct to focal seizure. Side effects include psychosis and excessive confusion, somnolence, or ataxia. Topiramate or Topamax also blocks sodium channels, L-type calcium channels, GABA, and glutamate receptors. Okay, we can use it for both focal and generalized seizure. However, the side effects, one is cognitive slowing. Okay, it can also lead to myopia and glaucoma or urolithiasis. So if your patient already has kidney stones, you know that you cannot give topiramate. So birth control pills may be less effective if given with topiramate. So vigabatrin, okay, irreversibly inhibit GABA aminotransferase, okay? It can be used for patients with infantile spasm. Sonizamides. Sonizamide blocks sodium channel, the T-type voltage-gated calcium channel. So it can be used for both focal or generalized seizure. Ethosuximide, okay, so it has a very narrow spectrum of clinical activity, okay? It blocks the T-type voltage-gated calcium channel, and its only clinical use is for those with absence seizure. So ethosuximide, absence seizure. Valproic acid, it blocks the sodium channel, NMDA, glutamic acid decarboxylase, okay, and the GAT1 or the GABA-T. So it has a multiple mechanism of action. So valproic acid is one of the anti-seizure drug that is good for patients with psychiatric comorbidities. We can give it those with bipolar disorders, or you can also use it for migraine prophylaxis. So adverse effect, number one is weight gain or increased appetite. So what to watch out for? Hepatotoxicity or thrombocytopenia. So if you're using valproic acid, one of the monitoring includes CBC, SGPT, and SGOT. Okay, so it is not recommended for women of childbearing age because of its teratogenic effect, including spina bifida, okay, or CV, orofacial, and digital abnormality. So for women of childbearing age, the recommendation is levetiracetam or lamotrigine. Okay, contraindicated include valproic acid or dose or phenobarbital. Okay, so good for women of childbearing, levetiracetam, lamotrigine. We can also give carbamazepine. Benzos, okay, blocks the GABA A receptors. Okay, diazepam has a rapid tolerance because of its long-term, because it is long-acting. Okay, clonazepam, it is also long-acting. Its clinical use is for those with absence, myoclonic, and infantile spasm. We can use clobazam for patients with Lennox-Gastaut. So what are the different pharmacokinetics fun facts? So all anti-epileptics are metabolized by the liver, okay, except gabapentin, pregabalin, and levetiracetam. So if your patient has a liver problem, cirrhosis, it is safe to give GABA, pregabalin, and levetiracetam. So carbamazepine auto-induces its own metabolism. Phenytoin has non-linear elimination. Gabapentin has the shortest half-life, while phenobarbital has the longest. Okay, so treatment can be optimized by knowledge of the free fraction of the anti-seizure drugs because only the free non-protein bound component enters the brain. Okay, so classic anti-epileptic drugs, carbamazepine, phenytoin, phenobarbital, and primidone are potent inducers of the cytochrome P450 liver enzyme, while valproic acid is an inhibitor of the cytochrome P450. So if you combine with valproic acid to another anti-seizure drug, it can increase the dose of the other anti-seizure medication. Okay. So how do we choose which drugs to give? For example, those with intravenous option. So those we can give for patients on status epilepticus, phenytoin, lev, valproic acid, and lacosamide. So for those that must be administered slowly, for example, lamotrigine and carbamazepine, okay? So we cannot give it for patients who are on status epilepticus. Any comorbidities, okay, for those with trigeminal neuralgia, we can give carba, oxcarbazepine, and lamotrigine. So these drugs, we use this for patients with trigeminal neuralgia. Those with neuropathic pain, we can use those gabapentin, pregabalin, carba, and oxcarbazepine. For migraine, okay, valproic acid and topiramate as used as migraine prophylaxis. Those with essential tremor, we can give topiramate, okay, and primidone. Those with anxiety, we can give benzos such as clonazepam. For patients with psychiatric comorbidities such as bipolar disorder, we can give lamotrigine, valproic acid. Of course, if that's a female of childbearing age, we do not give valproic acid, carbamazepine, and oxcarbazepine. For obesity, we can give sonisamide, okay, and topiramate because it can cause weight loss. Topiramate causes weight loss, but it can also cause mental dullness. So you have to discuss that with the family or the patient. So potential adverse effects. So those with increased risk of depression and suicidality, we do not give lev, tiagabine, topiramate, and vigabatrin. Those with renal failure, so levetiracetam, we have to adjust it, pregabalin, and gabapentin based on the um, renal clearance. And most older drugs have clear teratogenic effects. Okay, we have to skip that. Okay. So what are the general pharmacologic treatment pearls? So treatment strategy should be individualized. So treatment with single anti-seizure drugs wherever possible. If the first anti-seizure medication failed, second drug should be started or build up, and then the first drug tapered off slowly. So combination therapy should only be considered when attempts at monotherapy have not resulted in seizure freedom. So offer controlled release carbamazepine preparation. Okay? We do not offer sodium valproate to women or girls with childbearing potential. Then, okay, so let's remove this. Treatment with anti-seizure drugs is generally recommended after a second epileptic seizure, but we can already start if the patient has first unprovoked seizure, if the patient has neurologic deficit, with EEG findings or with findings in the MRI. And the risk of having further seizure is unacceptable. Okay? So monitoring, so regular blood test monitoring is not recommended as routine, but what are the indications for monitoring of anti-seizure drugs? Those with non-adherence, suspected toxicity, or adjustment of phenytoin dose, management of pharmacokinetic interaction, and specific clinical conditions such as status epilepticus, organ failure, and situation in pregnancy. So if you are on anti-seizure drug, if you are giving levetiracetam, you must monitor your creatinine because if there are elevation, you have to reduce dose. If you are on valproic acid, you must monitor the SGPT, SGOT, and the CBC. Again, because it can increase your liver enzyme or cause thrombocytopenia. Okay. If you are on carbamazepine, you must monitor your CBC and the sodium because it can cause hyponatremia. Okay, so carbamazepine can cause dizziness, but yung pala mababa na yung sodium. So before surgery, Clotting studies in those with sodium valproate must be requested, and adults taking enzyme-inducing drugs, so monitor every 2 to 5 years the CBC, electrolytes, okay, especially the sodium liver enzyme and the vitamin D levels, and other tests of bone metabolism. So withdrawal of pharmacologic treatment, sorry. So, Doc, kailan ba natin pwedeng tanggalin yung anti-seizure drug? Ma'am, pag wala ka ng seizure for at least 2 years. Okay? When the anti-seizure treatment is being discontinued, it should be carried out slowly, at least 2 to 3 months. So taper slowly, and one drug should be withdrawn at a time. So withdrawing benzos and barbiturates may take up to 6 months or longer to avoid drug-related withdrawal symptoms and or seizure recurrence. Okay? So that's it. Thank you.